Hi, my name is Shannon and this is my video blog. I will reflect on the interaction between my Christian faith and the 2014 American Counseling Association Code of Ethics. I will reflect on one ethical principle that has grown into alignment with my beliefs, one that still challenges me, and the concrete actions I will take to resolve that tension. In this reflection, I will draw from the ACA Code of Ethics 2014, Mitchell et al. 2023, and the Harness Model and Pierce et al. 2024 on spiritual and religious competencies in counselor education. I feel especially called to work with children and adolescents who have experienced complex trauma, including those diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder, RAD. According to the American Psychological Association in 2022, RAD emerges from severe neglect or inadequate caregiving and characterized by disturbances in emotional regulation and attachment-related behaviors. Supporting this population requires strong, trauma-informed skills and a deep commitment to ethical practice. The ethical principle that now feels most aligned with my Christian faith is autonomy. The ACA Code of Ethics in 2014 emphasizes respect clients' right to self-determination. While I once considered autonomy secondary to moral guidance, engaging with Mitchell et al. In 2023 led me to reconsider and ultimately reshape that belief. Scriptures affirm that God grants individuals free will and moral agency. Even when choices lead to consequences, God does not force compliance, as seen in passages that emphasize human choice and responsibility. The New International Version, 2011, Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 19. That theological understanding helped me reframe autonomy as consistent with my faith rather than contradictory to it. For children with RAD, offering structured, developmentally appropriate choices can strengthen trust and attachment to security. Respecting autonomy in these settings does not mean allowing unsafe behavior. Rather, it means empowering the child within the therapeutic boundaries. Harmony now looks like honoring a child's voice while maintaining a clinical structure and safety. The Harness Model challenged me to actively examine my values rather than assume alignment. Mitchell et al. In 2023 emphasized reflection, humility, and supervision when navigating value tensions. In trauma work, even subtle cues can reinforce shame or mistrust, recognizing that strengthening my commitment to ethical self-reflection. One principle that still has a little bit of tension for me is non-maleficence, the obligation to do no harm, ACA 2014. In trauma and attachment work, defining harm requires clinical precision. At times, I may perceive certain adolescents' behaviors such as defiance, manipulation, or risk-taking through a moral lens. Rather, I need to look through the trauma-informed lens, which requires interpreting these behaviors as a survival adaptation rooted in a destructive attachment system. Children with RAD often demonstrate controlling or avoidant behaviors as a protective strategy. Pierce et al. 2024. If I interpreted these behaviors morally rather than developmentally, I risk causing relationship harm. Pierce et al. 2024 also emphasized that structured supervision and competency training reduces the risk of value imposition and strengthen ethical clinical judgment. This reminds me that harm has to be defined by clinical input on clinical client well-being, not by personal theological interpretation. To address this conflict, I will take 3 structured courses of action. First, I will pursue ongoing supervision with a clinician experienced in trauma and attachment-based interventions to process cases where value tension arises. Second, I will pursue continuing ed in trauma-informed and attachment-focused therapies to strengthen evidence-based practice. Third, I will implement structured post-session reflection using elements of the Harness Model to document emotional reaction, assess for bias, and determine whether consultation is needed. Ultimately, my faith calls me to care for vulnerable children with compassion and integrity. Ethical counseling requires that compassion be grounded in clinical competence and self-awareness. Autonomy has come into harmony within my Christian worldview because I now see it as aligned with both biblical free will and trauma-informed empowerment. Non-maleficence remains an area of growth, but I am committed to addressing this through supervision, education, and discipline reflection. Mitchell et al. 2023 provided a framework for reconciling values responsibly. The ACO Code of Ethics establishes ethical standards that protect clients. Pierce et al. 2024 reinforces the importance of developing spiritual competence in counselor training. Moving forward, I commit to honoring Christ in my character while upholding the highest ethical and clinical standards in serving traumatized children and adolescents. Thank you.